Fuck man, blah, shit, fuck blah, blah. Well, I guess, I mean, it's weird. I wanted to do a video. It's been a little while and blah, 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 blah. So, okay, yeah, I found out, finally that it was Gary that gave me like 20 subscribers. And like, so how am I supposed to like stay on the down when someone's doing a shout out and pumping people my way? I mean, when 100 or so people watch my videos, I privatize them, right, for a couple months, and then I might, like a keyboard, let some of them ungo, bring them about, kind of get a sensation, a feel whether or not my vibe on anyone out there is, whether or not anyone's missing them or not. Anyway, so I'm watching this conference report video, right, his latest one, and I mean, there's this kind of this baseline notion of what rationality is and what an atheist rationality is, or I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. I mean, shit, mom. There's a lot of genius out there, but okay. Now there was once this like this whole vegetarian rationality, right? Like it must be this way. Speaking of pain, ouch. Okay, so um, there's like I went up to Bellingham, Washington, which was like one of the single biggest, I don't know, hippie, earthy, communist, individualistic places, like alternative philosophy places that I had ever been in. And there were people arguing. They were, you know, um, what were they were talking about the scientific studies where they would put up some sort of electrical read on different species of plants, and they'd go in and they'd chop a tree down, and then they'd move the entity into trees that were in proximity, and they would be measuring those trees, and as soon as the one that cut the tree down came into the area, the the readout was different than somebody else walking through that area. And then it was this experiment was done on plants too, like plants, if you break off a branch, are kind of like if you give somebody roses, like to give dead roses to a loved one, like, oh, they're so beautiful, they smell so good, but look, I just pulled them, I just plucked them, right? This is a dying rose, and part of the romance is like, look, I'm giving you something that smells so good, that's so extraordinarily beautiful, and it's dead, right? And so a lot of people will hang them upside down, and I don't know what you want to read into that, but my point is that some people will go like, hey, I'm not just a vegetarian, I'm a fruitarian, because I don't want to break the stalk off of a plant. It's not right to break the stalk. The plant feels it, but by feeling, we're not necessarily saying suffering, but we're saying, well, there's obviously an electrical something that's statistically significant going on in the process of the phloem, without a nervous system that's measurable. You know, I mean, shit. Leeches versus earthworms. Like leeches have like 8 or 12 brains, and an earthworm has one, and yet you can cut that earthworm in half. And it's not really that it gets another brain, it's that the end of the nerve kind of grows into a node. If you've ever seen an earthworm squirm, you want it like, God, it's moving like it hates it. Like it doesn't really like that, right? But you just cut its brain off, right? It's like a chicken running around, or it's the notion that can't a hand by itself feel pain. This notion that the brain is what is feeling the pain. That's kind of, I mean, I'm not saying it's not, but so anyway, there's these people that are fruitarians, and then some of them got so extreme. They're like, we won't even pull it from the plant. It's got to fall from the plant before we pick this fruit up because the tree doesn't want it, right? And then some of them will go, look, that tree is suffering every time somebody cuts a branch off that tree, or they don't kill the plant outright, they're causing suffering. So there's this degree into not just veganism, right, but into extreme forms of vegetarianism. So that's not even baseline. Look, oh fuck that, mom, that's fucking bullshit. It's almost like vegetarians are going to draw this baseline, right? And their rationalization is, hey man, you're causing suffering to that animal, right? Like you really hurt it, man. You killed it, right? And so it was funny to watch Conference Report kind of talk like, fuck, my mom is now the boy who cried dead instead of the boy who cried wolf. It's like, shit, man, how many times are we going to go down here before it actually happens, right? And I mean, granted, if she doesn't have her mind, but I mean, shit, man, it's still your mom. Or what? Is she more like a vegetable now? Is there some sort of like decrease in the sympathy that you have that maybe this is going to be the last time that you see her or something to that effect? Now, I'm not trying to go at Conference Report particularly. I'm trying to get at this notion that, yeah, and don't get me wrong, I love the quote that what's wrong with humanity is, or you find out what's wrong with humanity by the way they treat their animals, right? I think that's profound. But I eat meat, right? And I'm conscious about what it is I'm doing, but I don't often serve it to myself. If it's served to me, then I eat it, and um, and it's not to say that I don't go out and buy it. Sometimes I'll go out and buy me, why not? Sometimes I'm craving it. Sometimes I feel like my body's lacking it. Oh, well, just go get a protein shake. That'll fill you up. That'll do you right. Because what's right is don't cause suffering. Well, see, it's kind of like the whole argument of free range. Like, oh, we want free range chickens because it's, everything's going to die, but it's about the quality of life. Like, look, we don't want these pigs that are locked up. If I'm going to eat my swine, I want it to not be laying in its own shit its whole life, or this whole idea of, you know, yeah, God, now I can't even, mutton, uh, young calves. Why did I forget the name? But anyway, so the argument of suffering, right? It's kind of like you get Gary, right? And he's like, hey, look, man, I smoke and that causes me pain, but that has not a goddamn thing to do with you, right? So he's got this real, like, he's a dogmatic individualist in terms of even that way vocally. Like, I used to have that philosophy too. If I don't hurt you if I don't hurt you physically, I haven't hurt you at all. And then I would just go on to fuck with somebody's psychology for extended periods of time, right? Thinking, hey, this isn't really an issue, right? And I thought, well, yeah, I'm going to do that on a certain level, but not really, right? Because I think that suffering can happen in a lot of dimensions. And then it's kind of like, like, okay, then I question, what is it to bring suffering upon oneself, right? Like, to know other people care about you and to bring suffering upon yourself. What is that all about? As opposed, in relationship, that's on one hand, and on the other hand is bringing suffering to, or contributing to the suffering of an animal by the industrialized, process of killing. Like everything with vegetarianism kept going down this ladder of thought, which was kind of like, if you're gonna, like, I used to think, well, if you're gonna eat meat, you should have to go out and hunt it yourself. And you know what? You don't even get a gun. Maybe, whatever you can fashion yourself out of twigs. If you can make your own bow and arrow or spear, go for it. But you got to hunt for that thing, right? And you got to watch it die. Like, you got to participate in the process of identifying with that suffering that you're causing, so that you don't separate yourself so you don't forget where it came from, what had happened. It's not a reduction of pain. It's saying, if you're going to do it, you better be right there, looking it right in the face while it's dying, right? Or while you're gutting it and watching its limbs flip all over the place, because I've been on a few deer hunts or watched a few rabbits get cut, right? Saw my little dog get caught in a car tire when I was a kid and just messed with my head because it was like 3 days of watching this dog just turn big and purple and bloaty and then just finally die, and it was just so utterly devastating. And so, like, some people will get their kids pets because they know the pet is going to die and they think it's a lesson in death, right? The pet as metaphor for relating to death. But anyway, so this whole idea of reduction of suffering, like Gary's philosophy, idealistically, I think it's fine, but um, you know, it's almost it's kind of this idea of ingrown toenails. If you know anyone with ingrown toenails, like sometimes you want pain. You reach down. Some people smoke not because they like the aura and the scent and everything. They're smoking because it hurts and they want to feel pain. Some people cut themselves, and then other people get into blood brotherships, and it's part of the bonding through pain, through suffering. So what's my point, though, about vegetarianism, I guess, is that the attempt at reduction of suffering, if applied to oneself as a reminder of what is going on outward, seems like a self-abuse. It seems like if people are purposely abusing their own body to help them relate to the suffering of things outside of them, it's not a bad grounding technique, but I mean, how long does somebody have to go through that lesson, right? I mean, how long do they really have to bring it on? Is there a point, and this is my challenge, is like, really, really, like, if you're going to do it, right, then just do something so fucking bad to yourself that you'll know it, right? And you don't have to remind yourself anymore through the agony that comes along with trying to sit here and bullshit somebody about your not being able to quit an addiction, right? I mean, if someone put a loved one on a chalking block, in that like Stephen King movie and said, "Don't smoke again," I mean, would you smoke again, right? Or would you say, "Well, I had to," and chalk it up to addiction, and then watch your loved one jump around on those wires? I mean, it's just really kind of curious where people's, whether or not the words coming out of their mouth are a forefront for maybe not having like not having a good social group to shoot the shit at a coffee shop. But finally, when they get one, they're like, fucking, they identify with it, and then they can't let up, and then they re-identify, and then, I don't know what to say about that exactly, other than like, wow, I started something, and I don't want to let it go, and it serves a purpose, so I'm just going to continue it, and, okay, now I see that I can, I don't know. I'm not even going to complete the sentence on that one. Anyway, I thought I'd ramble a little bit. I think maybe what I'm going to do is continue to make ramble videos. If you think that I should just make like constant videos, like a lot of them talking about stuff, where I'm actually trying to answer people's questions on things, that's fine. I mean, I'll go ahead and do it. Maybe I need to shoot one about that unclarity that Gary had, and compliment a few people about a few things and talk about some I don't know, misunderstandings and assumed baselines of rationality. I think a lot of people just kind of that a lot of people, they really feel like, okay, hey man, we got it covered. This is the baseline. This is where people agree. There's not a lot of disagreement out there, so we might as well just, kind of this maintenance. I think a lot of people reach a rational comfort zone. Like, it's a literal comfort zone. Like, thank God I finally reached this zone where I'm making sense and I can rationally start bouncing. And I got a community of naysayers and yaysayers, and but they got to come. The yaysayers is what maintains that comfort.